speaking of another project that you were involved with on TV, I understand that you had served as a writer and producer for Marvel's The Runaways. Thinking about how it ended on a cliffhanger, would you say that The Runaways, as well as other Marvel TV shows such as Cloak and Dagger, and even some of the Netflix TV shows, in which all of them have more or less, at least in theory, do exist in the same universe? So do you see any of them having a future and eventually find their way into the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I do. Disney Plus, I think I read not long ago, was picking up Daredevil, like the whole Defenders universe, Punisher, Daredevil, Iron Fist in some form. So if they're going to Disney Plus, because Marvel has their own branch of Disney Plus, anything's possible. I mean, it seems like they're revamping them a little bit. They wouldn't be exactly like they were at Netflix, but I think the great thing about all of the streaming, Disney Plus, HBO Max, NBC's streaming service, Amazon, it gives you an opportunity to resurrect things that, seem like they were dead and long gone, and you get an opportunity to give them new life. And I think for shows that you're talking about, Runaways, Cloak and Dagger, all of the Netflix Marvel shows, I believe, especially under Kevin Feige, who's a really smart guy, there's an opportunity to the thing that disappointed me about those shows was I wanted them to be a part of the universe that went into the movies as well. Like for Infinity War, I wanted, what if Iron Fist and Daredevil and Luke Cage and all of them had shown up? I would have been a fanboy. I would have screamed in the movie theater. It's because in the comic book, in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book, they were all there. It's like everybody was there. Everybody was a part of it. And so to answer your question, I think, just by the nature of how the TV business works, if there's a demand, usually there's someone there to facilitate you getting what you want.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, because I've heard from some sources that in terms of casting continuity, that may not be the case, such as in Daredevil. I understand from some online source I've heard they may be casting possibly a new actor to portray Kingpin. I thought Vincent D'Onofrio was superb and excellent on
I did too.
On the Daredevil on Netflix. And in any case, do you see yourself becoming involved? I mean, I surely hope that might be the case, but I mean,
well, I don't know. Only because right now HBO is my employer, and I'm trying to bring this right now.
Okay.
So
that's coming up.
there's some other things that are connected to Philadelphia and the Philadelphia universe, and my focus is sort of not so much just about developing other existing stuff, trying to make new things. It's the thing that you spoke to earlier about that voice of trying to bring genre into an urban space, but it feeling authentic. That's sort of where my head is right now, and trying to do more of that and trying to develop the books that I'm writing and creating into television and film. That's sort of where my head is right now. But, in the midst, while that process is happening, I'd be an honor to work for Marvel or to work for any of those things.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it would definitely be an honor for them to have you board.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, because I know you're very much aware that some of the announcements of what Comic-Con has been making this weekend so far of some possible new projects, and I know there was one character. Noel mentioned to me earlier about this one.
Yeah, it was a character that you have written, Rodney.
Hellstrom?
Damon Hellstrom.
He knows.
Are you
Yeah,
involved?
I read an article. I'm not involved, but I read an article on IMDb this morning about Damon Hellstrom. I don't know what version of him. I don't know if he'll be the same because there were 3 or 4 different Hellstroms. The one I did was the classic one that I was a fan of as a kid.
The one that's part of Mephisto's soul, right?
There you go. That's sort of the guy I have, but there were others in the comics. They had different versions of him, the same way they had different Ghost Riders. You know, there were different guys occupying that space. So I don't know, but the Hollywood thing is, by the time you hear an announcement, they've already sort of put the team together. So
Yes.
typically the train has kind of left the station, and if I'm not on that train, I'm probably not hopping on unless the train derails.
Yeah.
Sometimes the train on the track and they look for somebody to try to push it back on the track.
Okay.
And sometimes I get that job. But I would prefer to be there from the beginning. So it is what it is.
Well, I would be really glad, as I've been saying, for you to be involved with these projects. And might I say that earlier when you were talking about Marvel's Runaways, with you having served as a writer and producer for the show, I really like the unique flair that you put to it. I got really hooked onto Runaways quite early on from the first episodes because I found it to be a very amusing mixture of Stranger Things as well as X-Men First Class. And I want to applaud you for the very unique and very exemplary job you did with giving that show, The Runaways, the very unique flavor that it had. And I felt it really set itself apart well from other superhero shows and even from other Marvel shows for that matter. Thank you for the job that you did with that, Rodney.
Thank you. There's a lot of talented folks involved in that process as well, but I'm happy to be amongst them.
But like going from that Marvel train, I did read somewhere that comics are sort of your first love. Is that accurate?
It is very accurate. The first thing, my mother was a school teacher, and she used to take me to the public library to do her lesson plans. This was way before computers, of course, and all of those things. And there was where they had a big box of comic books, and like I was a little kid, 5, 6 years old.
It's a treasure box when you're like that, right?
There you go. And I would sit there for hours, and I'm not even sure I could read. But there was something about
it taught you to read.
Yes, no, I'm serious. It was something about there was something about the art and the words, and it attracted me way more than Cat in the Hat. God bless Dr. Seuss, but I was more of a superhero guy, and Curious George and all of those books that, they give kids to read. That was great, but if you really wanted me to read on my own, give me a stack of comic books and I'll make my way. And fortunately for me in my neighborhood, there were 4 or 5 other guys who collected comic books. So, and we had 2 drugstores in my neighborhood, and they both sold comic books. So I would take my lunch money, like my locker at school was filled. It wasn't filled with school books. It was filled with comic books.
Yeah.
And I was the kid that would have the textbook, the book inside, so the teacher couldn't see.
Yep.
And that was sort of my, it was like a love affair. And I can say at various points in my life when I've gone through hardships from the beginning of life to present day, comic books were always there. It was always an escape before comic book stores. Like it was a thing that I could immerse myself into that was just mine. You didn't need friends to indulge. You didn't need a community. There was no Twitter to kind of find your tribe. You were your tribe with the book. It's like you had a relationship with the books themselves. And I'm so fortunate that I grew up in a period of time where there were a lot of great books. There were a lot of great creators. And they only cost like,
25 cents.
I remember 20 cents. Yeah. I remember a quarter. I remember 50 cents. I remember, various ages, but they were affordable and you could get them anywhere. And then once they became sort of a specialty thing, you had to go to a comic book store for them. Yes, and then you started paying $2, $3, $4 for a comic book. That sort of,
it became collector's items
a little bit. Yeah, it became, yes, it wasn't so much a thing that was in the mainstream populace. It was something that was on the outside that you had to go seek out. And I still loved them, but it wasn't as much nostalgia or sentiment attached to it like it was when I was a little kid and could just get them anywhere. So yes, comic books have been an important part of my life. And then there was this thing too, where as a kid, there were sort of, as my stepfather would say, funny books. And they evolved into Alan Moore and Frank Miller.
Hell
and,
yeah.
Miracle Man. It's like it became literature. Neil Gaiman and Sandman. It became something sophisticated. They became graphic novels.
Right.
And
yeah, the 80s.
In the 80s. And then it became more, they sort of grew as I grew. As I became an adult, the books sort of evolved into that as well. And now they seem almost like companion pieces to the movies in that universe.
Yeah.
Like the way that the way they're constructed is like, like film and TV.
Yeah. So back in that childhood of yours when you read, I mean, until now, you still love comic books, but what were some of the most inspirational comic books that carried you through your childhood? Well, you have some right there?
There was Swamp Thing.
Here we go.
There you go. Is that an Alan Moore one? Or is that like an earlier one?
I've got
like
the whole Alan Moore run behind me. I've got
all
of them.
The whole thing. It's
Wow.
not a short run.
I've got
you
them
realize
all.
it's not a short run.
I've got them all CGC'd.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that at first. It is. They are all graded.
Every single one of them.
Wow.
The CGC
Okay.
box hasn't come in.
Safe to say that's your favorite.
Then there's the Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm talking about the older ones.
Yes,
okay,
the
Swamp Thing.
older one.
Plastic.
Oddly enough, I'm a Logan's Run fan, the movie and the George Perez comic book.
Those are Marvel, right?
Those are Marvel.
Yeah, okay, I remember.
Battlestar Galactica.
Wow.
And
You have them all right behind you.
Yeah.
That's
do.
nice.
I'm trying
That's
to
awesome.
not pull the call.
I was like, you're like Bugs Bunny behind me, reaching for his mallet.
It was
like,
Moon Knight.
like infinite hope.
Oh, Moon Knight. Moon
You got
Knight.
a grand
Oh,
yeah, Moon
St.
Knight.
Kevin's.
Oh.
Spoiler. That's an Easter egg right there.
There's stuff everywhere, man. It's but I love it all. Marvel, DC.
I love your room.
Oh, if you could see around this room, it is a
Fun
fanboy's. It's the fanboy's dream.
You just reach around and everything's there.
I've got
That's
original.
awesome.
I've got original Neil Adams art over there. A little bit of
Wow,
everything. Yeah.
those are expensive because like Neil Adams is like a giant in the industry. So when you line up to get him signed and whatever, it's like So
He did a cover for us. He did a cover for us on Philadelphia #5.
Neil Adams?
He did, and I bought
Yes.
I bought the actual cover.
Awesome.
I have it over there. The actual the original art. So yeah.
So
He came here over to ToyCon a couple years ago.
Yeah, he did come to the film.
Yeah.
He did.
Yes.
So that, I know this is still your segment, but I just got to show. I've got some original.
Of course.
art
I was going to talk
here.
about that anyway.
There you go.
You
Yeah.
might as well have the visual aids.
Yes.
I've got a page. If you want to see it, I have an actual page from that Falcon book that Josh drew.
Original?
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. This is volume 1, signed by Rodney Barnes.
That is my
Number
funky
1.
signature. That is my horrible signature. It
You
is
see it a mile away.
Yeah, it's like a guy had a stroke and just scribbles something.
It was a
around.
very long line. I could understand the stroke.
It was just
Like, here, can we go away?
Here you go. And it's not. Every time I see my signature, I cringe because I'm thinking, "Wow, this means something to somebody," but that's an ugly signature. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was it like to like you've mentioned your love through comic books, how it carried you throughout childhood and things like that. What was it like to finally write and make one and like embed it in an existing universe, long-standing universe like the Marvel universe? What did that feel like?
Terrifying. The first three Falcons. The first 3 Falcons, I don't consider to be very good because.
Oh, why not?
Well, I hadn't done it before. And
Oh,
when
okay.
you look at movies, TV, and when you look at TV, I've been doing it for years. You look at film, I've been working in it for years. And I had a relationship with the process of doing those things. When it came to comic books, there's no collaborative, even with the artist, it's more of you write a script, you send it to an
He interprets
artist,
it. Yeah.
he does it, you got a book. And there's no one to say whether it's good or bad or, in TV.
Until the fans
you can
get
write
it.
some. There you go.
Yeah.
Twitter
Until
will
you
tell
see
you.
it on
Twitter will tell you.
Twitter will let you know.
Oh, Twitter will let you
Yeah.
know in a heartbeat. I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
When
Sure.
So I'm feeling good about myself. I've done 3 comic books now, and it usually takes 3 issues before people start chiming in. And after that 3rd Falcon, there was this one guy, and he would screen capture dialogue that he hated and put it on Twitter. And not only did he hate the dialogue, but he hated me. And he would say it. And I was in a movie, Tom Hanks movie, The Post. I think Meryl Streep was the star, but it was Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. It was about the Washington Post. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch the movie, but my phone is dinging from Twitter because this guy, the whole weekend, is talking about how much he hates Falcon and my Falcon. And so I think, and he had like 40 or 50 likes because he was really committed to getting these likes. And I guess I didn't know what any of this was because I'm not that guy. I wasn't following it in the same way. And I'm devastated. I've ruined my life. I've ruined my career. This is the end.
Oh, no.
I'm never going to write a comic book ever again. Just the hell, this is worth it. I'm depressed. And so after about a week or so, when I got out of my feelings and I listened to what he said, there was some truth in his criticism. Under the hate, there was some substance to the hate.
Actually pretty rare. Usually it's just hate.
No, yeah, but it was something to it. And I look at Falcon number 4 as issue 4 as my first book because I'd gone through the first 3. They were what they were. And I'm sort of learning something now. I'm sort of learning how the relationship between the fan and the book, the relationship between how I see it. And I was writing from, I'm writing a comic book, which I don't go, I'm writing a TV show or I'm writing a movie. I'm really operating from the outside in, and I need to be operating from the inside out. And so Falcon 4, if you ever take the time, and there's way better things your time.
Oh, I've read.
Oh, we've read it. We've read it.
There's something different about issue 4.
I was actually going to ask you about that because
yes.
in the middle of the Blackheart arc, it sort of takes
a turn.
Mm-hmm. And then I was actually, when I flipped the pages, the first few pages of that issue, I had to reread it because those came out in like 2017, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I reread it for this interview, and I'm like, it's sort of like that thing where you're surprised and then you're not sure if this is real or not. So was that, it's the hell thing without going into too many spoilers for people that might want to pick it up after this interview. Yeah. Was that directly influenced by the Twitter backlash, or was that a thing all along?
It was directly related to not just the Twitter backlash, but my own understanding that I needed to approach it from a different place. I
love the hell part, by the way. I loved it. Two Gun Kid. I was like,
wow. I like the 2 Gun Kid part.
Yeah, I love it too.
I started
wow.
Once I got past my feelings and I got to a place where I'm having fun and I calmed down and I settled into the book, that was the part where I think it got better and I started to feel more comfortable with it. I can say the criticism was a part of it. I can say me going on my learning curve was a part of it. I can also say just facing, there's a constant theme in my career and in my life of fear and then facing that fear. And I wanted to be in the business. I wanted to make comic books. I wanted to get better. I had to humble myself to the things that I didn't know. And I had to put in the work to get better. And so those Falcons from 4 to 8, and then later Lando, and then incredible before we get to Philadelphia, were all opportunities to figure out what my voice was, to figure out my relationship with various artists and the page and the story. But I'd say the biggest thing is, in 2013, I was really sick, very, very sick. And I had a guy come and talk to me, and I wasn't in a very good place. And he said, we started talking about my career and writing. And he asked me, why do I write? And I told him that, as a only child who wasn't very close to his parents, who had a lot of time to roam and be free, I went to the movies a lot. And I created a relationship with the things that I saw, especially genre. And it was something about the way stories were told that I felt connected to me in a different kind of way. Like it would stay with me. For instance, I remember going to the movies with a couple of friends, and they hated going to the movies with me because I'd want to watch the movie again and again and again and again and again. It wasn't just one time.
Yes, a true geek.
It's like literally whatever the first show was, it was dark by the time we were leaving. And my friends were like, man, we got other things we could be doing. And it was something about the relationship with stories that really moved me. It was an emotional, I didn't know anything about money, one day doing this, one day talking to you guys. I didn't know anything about any of that. It's just me and the screen. And so the guy that was talking to me, he said, so it was a heart thing. He said, yeah. And he said, so what are you doing now? Are you working from your heart? And I said, not really. I'm working from my head because I'm making money. It's a job. And he said, I think if you reconnect to that part of you that was driven to come here, take a shot, do that thing, it'll get better. And the thing about sitcoms is you're going to make one every week, whether it's great, whether it's not great, whether it's someplace in between. When you're working on dramas, it's more, and that's not to say one is lesser or greater. It's just that it's almost like a factory, when you're doing that type of
grindhouse, yeah.
Yeah, you're cranking them out. And you're working on something like American Gods or Runaways or one of those other things. It's a different process. And I started to write more to that and to the things that I always loved. And so being able to take that love and to find it for comics and not to look at comics like it's a gig. And I'm connecting to the thing that made me who I am, a part of who I am. I think made me better. It made me focus in a different kind of way. And it made me humble myself to something that I thought I knew, but I didn't know. And I think that helped me get better along the way. And I'm still operating from a place of wanting to be better. And every time I put pen to paper, the blank page, I'm still looking, how can I top the last thing that I did? How can I go deeper into me emotionally so that when I'm writing, that transfers to you guys?
That is beautiful. So going back here to the comic book, I have to say, and I'm just guessing here,